Hi everyone, my name is Gideon Besanoet and I am an application engineer for Micrographics. Today we're going to have a look at parametric designing within Fusion and how we can utilize and capitalize on the different types of parameters. Now Fusion does have the capability to create what we would call user parameters and model parameters. And today we're going to have a look at how we can utilize and create the different types of parameters within Fusion. Now under the Modify panel, in the Design tab in the Modify panel, you'll notice at the bottom is where we get our parameters. Now just to show you what the parameters is, it displays the parameters dialog where you can create and manage equations and relationship to control the size of objects. We can also edit the names, expressions and comments for parameters, and we can create user parameters. Now what does that exactly mean? When we open the parameters, you'll notice there's a dialog box that appears and we can create our own parameters. Now parameters is something that is beneficial within Fusion. We can create and customize our designs according to these parameters, and we can drive our part or model using parameters. Just going to make this a little bit bigger. Now you'll notice there's three different types of parameters: your favorite, user and model parameters. Now the differences is favorite parameters is usually while you're modeling and you're creating your dimensions and linking the parameters that has been created to specific dimension values. User parameters is parameters that you set up and create before you start sketching or drawing. And then model parameters is parameters that you actually create while you are doing your sketching and modeling. To add a new user parameter, you'll notice there's a plus sign. So I'm just going to utilize and create a few different parameters. The first one I'm going to call height. Yes, I want it to be millimeters, and for instance my dimension value I want to be 150. Going to say OK, and now a user parameter has been created. I'm going to add another parameter. I'm going to call this width. Now in the expression value we do have the option to give it a different type of value. I'm going to say, let's say 100 millimeters. Okay, add another one and call this thickness, and going to say 50 millimeters. Now you've noticed that I've just created three very simple type of parameters within Fusion, and this is what we call our user parameters. Now how can we utilize these user parameters? It's quite easy. We're just going to go and create a 2D sketch. I'm going to choose the center rectangle just to get it nice in the origin. Now this is where we can utilize these different types of parameters. Now I'm going to just type in H, and you'll notice it already picks up the user parameter that I have created. I'm going to say height, and then with this parameter I'm just going to type in W, and you'll notice it gives me the width parameter. Now I've got the height and width parameter already inserted, you can also add your parameters to the created 3D features. So if I'm going to say finish and extrude, by the distance I can just simply type in thick or th, and you'll notice your parameter values that you've created pops up, and you can simply select it and say OK. Now, one of the best benefits with creating your different types of parameters is you don't have to go and make any modifications to your sketch or to the features. You can simply open your parameters. Just move this out the way. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. And because we've created parameters with values, as soon as we open the parameter table, we can go to the expression and we can change the values as needed or required. And you'll notice in the background the block updates according to the parameters. So it's quite nice and easy to create different types of parameters and do any modifications. It makes it so quick and so easy to make the modifications. I'm going to go and create, for instance, a hole. I'm going to place it on the center point here, and you'll notice in this instance I'm actually going to change the parameters and create new parameters. For instance, this I'm going to call hole underscore diameter. When we create parameters, we cannot have spaces in between the parameters. That's why we would use underscore. And here by depth, I'm actually going to choose 2 and just choose the back part and create the parameter. When we go to the modify tab and change parameters, you'll notice there is the new parameter that we've just created, the hole diameter, and it's also under our model parameters. Here you can see under the hole. So any model parameters that you create while you sketch, it will also pop up under your favorites, and you'll be able to make your modifications as needed. Now this is a very easy and quick example. Now I'm going to show you actually how we can create parameters and use equations within the parameters to drive our full part. I'm just going to close this item and not save it. I'm going to go to modify and change parameters. As you can see, I did not save the parameters. You can also go and create your new parameters. You can also go and select your favorite parameters, but I haven't saved anything. Now I'm just going to start from scratch and just show you how you can utilize parameters within Fusion to drive your whole part. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to have a height again and leave it at 150. Create another parameter, call this width. Now in this instance I'm going to say that parameter is height, so I'm typing in h, height, divided by 2. And that would work out an automatic dimension. Going to add another dimension or parameter, and now in this instance I want my thickness to be my width divided by 4, let's say plus 5 for instance. That means it would always work out the thickness. Going to say OK and start a 2D sketch. Going to choose my center rectangle. create a dimension. So that I know is going to be width. That I know is going to be height. And this needs to be thickness. Now I'm going to start utilizing and create model parameters. I want a hole, for instance, on that part. Now I'm going to create a new model parameter, the hole underscore diameter, and I want my diameter to be my width divided by 3 as an example. Now you'll notice that the hole actually just goes into space. I'm going to go and edit the feature, and I want that distance to be actually equal to my width, and say okay, or not width, thickness, and choose OK. I'm going to create a fillet, select these 4 corners, going to create another model parameter, and I'm going to say that needs to be radius equals 25. Okay. Now there's quite a few parameters that have been created, a few equations, and if something updates, I don't have to go to the sketch or any of the features to make any modifications. I can simply go to the Modify tab, Parameters table, and any modifications that I would like to make, I can make here. And because there's expressions and equations that has been created, I can simply change that size and everything else would update automatically. You can also make modifications. For instance, if you want your width to be always divided by 2, you'll notice that it updates. You can also change your fillet size, and everything will update and be driven by your parameter table. That is one of the big benefits of creating parameters in your model and designing environment. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.